Welcome to another episode of the Parra Cave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Parra Cave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Parra Cave podcast. Troy Warner here. And look, this is a sort of a rehash of a chat that I had with the Talking Parra lads on their podcast last week. And what the Talking Parra podcast is, it's four mates having a chat about all things Parramatta, and we decided to have a little bit of a chat about a few things, talking about the draw, some players, the new signings, the departing players, also the jersey thoughts as well, a player to watch, a player that needs to lift. And look, we went early on. We've given a MVP, so most valuable player for the Parramatta Eels in 2024, and we've also tried to predict a top try scorer for the Parramatta Eels in 2024 as well. So we've gone the early crow. So look, if you want to have a listen to all the lads' thoughts, check out the Talking Parra podcast. It's available on Spotify, on Apple as well. So give them a follow, subscribe to them. During the season, there'll be much more content coming through. There'll be a weekly chat show about the Parramatta Eels, about the games and about previewing the games coming up, and also a little bit of things, whatever happens with the Parramatta Eels, like new signings, and yeah, any news that comes to light with the Parramatta Eels. So give them a like, give them a follow, and you can hear the other guys' thoughts about this sort of stuff as well on that podcast as well. But I thought I'd just do it from my sort of angle. And anyway, we will start off with the draw as well. So look, I've already given, I think, my sort of thoughts on the NRL draw when it got released in November last year, but I've just sort of broken it down a little bit. Look, it's a pretty good start to the year. Our first five, Parramatta's first five club games against the Bulldogs, Panthers, Manly, Tigers, and then Manly as well. I think it is Canberra as well. Look, there's 3 home games in there. I think Parramatta could maybe be 5 from 5. Look, it's 5 from 5 is definitely doable. The Panthers in round 2 will be a tough game, but we've shown that we've got a good record against the Panthers in Penrith. So, look, I did a crazy thing the other day as well before this chat with those lads. I did a NRL ladder predictor. Now, the funny thing about the ladder predictor that I did on that day was that every game was decided by 12 points. So the winner won the game by 12 points. I didn't change it up. I didn't put it down, didn't put it up. Everyone won by 12 points. So it's not really going to be a true ladder predictor. But anyway, after 5 rounds, I think Parramatta will be sitting in 3rd spot on the ladder. So call me crazy, I know you probably will, but I do believe that we can definitely be 4 from 5 in those first 5 rounds, with probably maybe the Penrith game being the hardest one there to get a gauge on. Rounds 5 to 10 get interesting. Canberra down in Canberra is always hard down there. Parramatta doesn't have the best record down there. I think we've won a couple in the last few years, but always a hard struggle down there. I think it's on a Sunday night as well. And then a couple of home games as well, one against the Cowboys, and then the other home game is actually in Darwin against the Dolphins. Manly away and then a bye. So there's 2 crucial home games there. As I said, one in Darwin, so you can call that an away game. But if you win more of your home games, then you need to win your home games, basically. You want to try and have your home ground as a bit of a fortress in rugby league. So you want to win most of your games, if not all your games, at home. and then win some away as well to give you a really good crack at making that top 8 and even indeed the top 4. And then there's some really tough opponents coming up. One of them, a home game at CommBank Stadium against the Brisbane Broncos, last year's grand finalists. The Storm at Magic Round. Now, that's on a Sunday night. That one's really going to be interesting. I think, we all saw what happened in, I think it was 2019 Magic Round against the Storm. It was 64-12, I think, by memory. Ryan Pappenhausen, he made himself known to the rugby league world there. And then playing the Rabbitohs, it's their home game, playing somewhere as well. Again, haven't had the best record against the Rabbitohs. We did get the win last year at Allianz Stadium, so not too sure where that one will be. Another bye coming up, and then by that round 16 bye, I think it becomes interesting, and I think that's where we'll get a gauge of how our season is going, because between the byes, we've got Newcastle, Gold Coast away, and Rabbitohs at home. So a couple of difficult teams there. Then after the bye, we really need to ramp it up. It's a tough road trip to New Zealand, including that one. And then it's looking into the harder games. And we finish off with the Dragons and Tigers, one home game, one away game. So maybe not the best opponents leading into a semi-final series, but this is January in 2024, so who knows by that stage how those two teams will be travelling. Look, that's a quick rundown of the draw. Look, the game I'm most looking forward to this year is round 2. Obviously, Penrith against Penrith at Penrith is my favourite game of the year. Being a Parramatta supporter, living in Penrith, I just love that game there at Bluebet Stadium. I really love getting down there and, mixing it with the Penrith fans. They always give me a lot of grief, as per usual, and as they probably rightly should as well, being 3 times premiers and including once against us. But I've got a lot of friends who are Penrith supporters, and they like to rub it in as well. So a lot of friendly banter, but who knows, one day Parramatta will have the last laugh, hopefully, anyway. But that game I'm definitely looking forward to. Obviously, Magic Round as well. I'm looking forward to getting up there in Brisbane and watching the Eels run around as well against the Storm on the Sunday afternoon. That should be a cracker of a game. I'm hoping to be up there on the Saturday, possibly and definitely the Sunday as well. So looking forward to seeing all you listeners up there as well. But look, another game that I'm really looking forward to is the New Zealand Warriors in New Zealand. That should be an interesting game. Look, we haven't played over there in a few years now. I don't know when the last time we played over there was, but it has been a few years now, obviously with the COVID pandemic that was shut down the world a few years ago now, when the competition was in Queensland. We haven't played over in New Zealand for a long time. We did play the New Zealand Warriors at CommBank Stadium last year. We had a few Origin players out, and Sean Johnson was the impending birth of his child was happening that week. I'm pretty sure that weekend, so he played and pretty much started in that game and beat the Eels on that occasion. But again, obviously going over to New Zealand, that'll be a good gauge as well, because after that game, it is the Panthers, Roosters and Broncos. So the 2 grand finalists, including the premiers from last year, and also the Roosters, who will be looking to get back into that grand final as well. So, and there's only one home game, so in that lot. So you want to get those wins at home, as I said before. But they're playing those 3 teams after that New Zealand Warriors game is probably, as I said, you'll get a good gauge as to where the Parramatta Eels is. the best away game for me, as I said, taking away Penrith, as it's only about 10 minutes away from my house. Look, the one I really look forward to is obviously Magic Round up in Brisbane, but also playing the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium as well. Last year it was at the Gabba due to the Women's World Soccer Cup, which was not a good night for Parramatta fans and the team themselves as they got smashed. But it was a good experience getting to the Gabba as well. I think the first time I've seen a live sporting event at the Gabba, and who knows, in a few years' time, they're going to knock it down and rebuild it for the 2032 Olympics. So at least I can say I've been to a sporting event there. But always love getting up to Brisbane, so shout out to all the Brisbane listeners up there. I love catching up with friends and family up there, and it's always great to see some listeners up there as well come and say good day. But always love getting up to Brisbane. That's probably my favourite away games of the season. Also hoping to get up to the Gold Coast game as well, played at Cbus Super Stadium as well. Now, I'm not going to... We talked also about our thoughts on the 2024 jerseys. That was in a earlier podcast that I've done late last year. So if you want to check that one out, and you'll hear my thoughts. That was when it was released. So, look, I'm not going to harp on about that one too much. I think it was... look, I'm a stripes man for Parramatta, so I like to see the gold stripes. There's a lot of controversy about the white jersey. I think this is the last year of the white jersey, but there's going to be some cracker jerseys come out this year for the Parramatta Eels, so stay tuned for those ones. And as I said, if you want to hear my thoughts about the Parramatta Eels jerseys for 2024, just check out the back catalogue, and there is a jersey podcast. Players. So now I'm going to talk about the players for the Parramatta Eels, and look, Parramatta really have relatively the same team as last year, which in my opinion is probably a good thing. Now, when I say it is a good thing, even though the Eels didn't make the top 8 last year, I feel that it is a good thing because the players that were there, that will give them motivation, you would hope, to achieve better during 2024 and finish higher on the ladder. So that's why I think it's probably a good thing. Obviously teams change here and there every year with players going left, right and centre sometimes, but look, Parramatta have picked up a couple of new signings, and there's been a couple of retirements as well, but all in all, it is relatively the same sort of squad, so hopefully there'll be a lot of competition for spots. And as I said, I think it's probably a good thing because it'll give them motivation to finish higher than what they did in season 2023. Look, the new signings, Morgan Harper, he's copped a lot of criticism and a lot of people and fans have bagged him. Yes, he has had his problems in the past with defence. Will he get a start in first grade at the start of the year? Look, I really don't think so. I think he may start in New South Wales Cup. It all depends, I guess, on Brad Arthur and I guess how Morgan trains during the off-season. But in my personal opinion, I don't think he'll get a start in first grade. I think Bailey Simonson will be the starting centre along with Will Penasini, and I think Sean Russell will be on the wing with Micah Sevo. So I don't think Morgan Harper will start in first grade, but he is an experienced player and can be good as a backup in those positions in the back line. Hopefully we don't get injuries or suspensions like we did in 2023. So I think 22 weeks or something like that in suspensions, one of the highest in the league. So we definitely do not want that one. Discipline is a problem last season. Let's hope it's not a problem this year. So, look, Morgan Harper comes over from Manly, so looking for a fresh start. So, this will be interesting to see how he goes. And Kelma Tuolagi as well. He's on to his third club now. Look, he's still only 24, so he's played 44 games. So slowly gaining more experience, I guess. Another player, look, I think he'll be pushing for a bench spot at best, I think. Some suggest that he may start in the second row as well, with Ryan Madison being on the bench. Look, Ryan Madison being on the bench, that sort of worked in 2022, a little bit in 23, but mostly he started the games, I think. So, look, Kelma Tuolagi will be looking for a fresh start, his third club. He'll want to, I guess, settle down now and get into first grade and play regular, consistent first grade. So, good size and height, mobility. I think we will see him a couple of times this year in first grade. Departing players. Look, there was a few departing players, as I said, that happens at every club every year, and Parramatta is no exception. Wonga Blake is the most recent. He's off to the powerhouse English Super League team, St Helens. So, look, he had flashes of brilliance at times for Parramatta, and we saw that. And we saw that he had a lot of potential, but I think we also saw that he had a few defence problems as well, as we all know. So we all saw that one as well. I think, for me, I think his probably best position was on the wing. He played some reasonable football on the wing for Parramatta. I think that game against the semi-final, the 2022 semi-final against Penrith, I really think that made it difficult for him in obviously the grand final and also the 23 season as well. I think it gave him a few confidence issues, I think, of catching the high ball. Look, he's had a great career at Penrith and also Parramatta as well, and we wish him all the best over in the English Super League with St Helens as well. As I said, one of the powerhouse clubs in the rugby league world over there. World Club Challenge champions. They beat Penrith at the start of the year, 14-12. So a great club that they're going to there. He is going to there. Josh Hodgson and Andrew Davey retired as well medically. Look, the signing of Josh Hodgson didn't work as well as what Parramatta would have hoped it would. We have, as fans, we had our doubts at times before he started playing for Parramatta, whether him overcoming his knee injuries would be a problem at his age as well. Look, he had a couple of good games for Parramatta. Unfortunately, finished the year injured as well. One highlight, I guess, was that try against Manly, where he wound back the clock and just ran and scored a try. So we wish Josh all the best in the future. I think he is doing some coaching roles at Parramatta with the juniors as well these days. So passing on his experience to them as well. So some great credentials there. Andrew Davey as well. Unfortunately, concussions have caught up with Andrew, and he felt that it was time for him to retire from the game, much like Keegan Hipgrave as well a few years earlier. Obviously, your health comes first, so he's made the difficult decision to retire from rugby league, and again, we wish him all the best in his future as well with whatever he gets up to. Player to watch in 2024, the Eels player to watch in 2024. Look, I think probably Brendan Hands, I reckon, is the player to watch. He got a little bit of a taste of first grade last year. He had to play some big minutes, and I think that showed at times as well. He had a really good start to the season, and I think, look, last year we're doing good, and it'll be good for experience for a big 24 as well, 2024. I think with Joey Lussick coming to the club as well late last year, I think you may find that he may be the starting hooker. And I think with Brendan Hands coming in at number 14, I think he can add some explosiveness off the bench as well as a replacement for Joey, and just do those short little runs out of dummy half in the ruck area. And I think he may be one that probably can slip under the radar, and he'll have a big year in 24. Also, another player I think will have a big year in 2024 is also Wiramu Greg. We saw last year with either through suspension or injury to Regan Campbell-Gillard and Junior Paolo that Wiramu really stepped up and was doing really good things on the footy field. He was playing really good, some good charges, some good tackles, and we really saw him step it up when one of those players wasn't playing. So unfortunately he got injured towards the end of the year, but I expect him to have another big year in 24 as well, and he'll be pushing both Junior and RCG for that starting spot, which I do not think is such a bad thing if Wiramu starts and either RCG or Junior is on the bench to start the game. I think probably because personally I feel, and you may agree, let me know if you do, that Parramatta do lose a little bit of, I guess, momentum when both Junior and RCG are off the field at once. So just having one of them on the bench to come on after 20, 25 minutes maybe can really change things up, I guess. So that South game last year was one of the best games I've ever seen Wiramu play. So it'll be interesting to see how many games he gets starting possibly next year. This year, 2024. Player that needs to lift. Now, I think both he and the coach, Brad Arthur, have said this himself, and I'm assured that a lot of Parramatta fans think this one as well. And I've gone for Dylan Brown. I think he himself has said it. I think Brad Arthur has said it as well, that he owes his teammates and the fans and the members, he owes them in 24 for the mistakes that he made in 23. Obviously, that was very highlighted throughout the year. It saw him serve a 7-week suspension. Unfortunately, we lost a few games during that time. And look, to have a player of Dylan's capabilities on the field, that's what you want. He just last year he signed a really weird contract. I think that he stays till 2032 or something, and there's player options, there's club options. It's a really, really different sort of weird contract. So look, he will learn from his errors, I guess, of 2023, and he'll want to get back to that 22 form where Parramatta made the grand final, and he was one of the better players in the team, with his combination with Sean Lane, another player who unfortunately didn't have the best of years last year through mostly injury, broken jaw at the start of the year, and I think also a hamstring, I think it was. So look, injury kept him out a lot of last year as well. So both those two players on the left-hand side of the field will want to probably get that combination back together again in 2024, and if that happens, you'll see Parramatta win more and more games. The most valuable player, we'll go to top try scorer. Look, I got out the crystal ball, and I think Sean Russell will be the top try scorer for Parramatta. A lot of people may say Mike Acevo, but I think it might be Sean Russell. I do like the look of Sean. We saw last year that he scored some great tries. I think one against South, one against Brisbane up at the Gabba, that game I was talking about. So we know he can score a try or two or three, I think, against the Gold Coast in 2022, I think it was. But yeah, we see that he can score tries. Unfortunately, in 22, he had that big injury, so that kept him out for most of the year. Last year, he played a lot of football, which was good on the wing, and I think that will give him good confidence and experience, knowing that he's come back from that major injury, and he will want to get that starting wing spot. So, as I said, a little bit of competition for spots as well. With new signing Morgan Harper, he might play centres, and Bailey Simonson might go on the wing. He's played there before, and that may force Sean Russell out. But I think Sean Russell will start the year on the wing, as we saw in 23, and I think he'll be the top try scorer. How many tries? I don't know. I'm going to tip about... Okay, look, I'm going to make a tip. I'll say about 17. There you go. 17 tries from Sean Russell. Let's see how close he gets to that one. MVP, most valuable player, Ken Thornett, medal winner, I guess you could call it. But I think the most valuable player, look, it's probably no surprise, but Clint Gutherson, I think he'll be the MVP for Parramatta. We say it all the time. He is everywhere on the field, whether it's a try-saving tackle, the assists in tries from passes or little kicks as well. And he's anywhere and everywhere, isn't he? He's the anywhere and everywhere man. So, look, he's really puts his heart on his sleeve. He loves the club. He loves to win. He's got that determination to win, and that's why we see him go out and try and win every single game that he plays in, and he will give 150% to win that game. We saw it last year in the last game against Penrith. He played a few tackles, I think it was, with a busted leg, which saw him eventually leave the field, but he was still out there for a few tackles anyway, with that busted leg, because that's just the competitor he is. He wants to win. So I think he will be the MVP. Obviously, you will have Mitchell Moses as well there, his right-hand man, as well as the general of the team. He'll be right up there as well. And I think this is a big year for Mitchell Moses as well. I think probably because he played 2 games of Origin last year, obviously with Nathan Cleary out injured, so that gave him some big-time experience there. Nathan Cleary, he will be the New South Wales halfback if he is fit and not suspended, so he will be the halfback. But if Mitchell Moses has a wow of a year and really brains it, I think Mitchell could be the New South Wales halfback. But Nathan Cleary, he has got that number 7 jersey for as long as he wants it. But if Mitchell plays out of his skin for the weeks leading up to Origin or from the start of the season, look, who knows? New coach of New South Wales, Michael Maguire, he might make some drastic changes. But as I said, I think it's Nathan Cleary's jersey, and Mitchell is second in line for that jersey. But if he has a wow of a season, you never know. But look, he's the right-hand man of Gutho. He's the general of the team. If he and Dylan Brown can really mix it well together and lead this team around, we've seen that they've had a little bit of a combination from over the years. 2022 is a prime example. Then he could be our most valuable player. We've seen in the past as well, when he hasn't played for Parramatta, it's been difficult for Parramatta to get victories, but I think he, along with Gutho, will be the top two, as they have been over the last few years. So he will be primed for a big year. He's coming towards that age of a halfback. He's getting into that prime age, so these are his good years, his prime good years. We'll just have to see how he goes. But anyway, that was just a recap of what I talked about on the Talking Parra podcast. I thought I'd just rehash it and put it on the Parra Cave podcast for the listeners who may have not listened to the Talking Parra podcast. But as I said, give them a like, give them a follow. Every now and again, during the off season, there is a live YouTube, Facebook videos talking about all things Parramatta, and during the year as well, each week there will be a recap and preview of the games from fans' point of view. And I can tell you, it gets interesting sometimes. Obviously, everyone's got an opinion, and sometimes they don't agree, sometimes they agree, and it just makes for a very interesting listening and viewing. And as I said, it's just four or five fans talking about the club, the Parramatta Eels, the club that I love, and maybe you like following as well. So that was just a rehash. Go back and listen to the other lads as well on the Talking Parra podcast, see what their thoughts are, see if they agree with me or not. But check them out, and thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and follow the Parra Cave podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or is it called X now? I think it is, formerly Twitter. Also on LinkedIn as well. So thank you very much for the following there as well. Every now and again, leading in towards the season, there'll be a podcast coming out, and in a couple of weeks' time, I will start to bring back the interview-based style podcast as well with a former player. Hopefully trying to get a current player on, but we'll see what happens with that one. So that one will be back for sure in a couple of weeks' time, so stay tuned for that one. But on the social media channels, there will also be some fun little stuff as well, some bit of content on there, so give them a follow as well. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, enjoy yourselves and stay safe and enjoy whatever time, whatever you're doing, and check out the back catalogue of the podcast if you've missed a few as well. So thank you very much for listening. Until next time, go Parra.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parra Cave podcast. See you next time.